Hello and welcome to the DualShock Graveyard Podcast. This is episode 17. I am Julian, your host. I am your humble narrator, cult master extraordinaire. And I must say, after 17 episodes, it gets kind of old having to pull energy out of nowhere. Not that I have no energy, but I wish I had like a theme. So, for lack of a better word, a theme song to just pull energy out of and just have it play before the episode starts. And then as soon as it ends, I'm just like, yeah, what's up, bitches? Welcome to the DualShock Graveyard Podcast. Let's go. Something close to that is in the works. I do have plans for something of a theme, but until that day comes, I'll still be just hitting the record button and just pulling energy out of from somewhere. And again, not to imply that I have no energy going into this episode. I'm just nowhere near as compared to the energy I would have if I had a very bitchin', again, for lack of a better phrase, theme song. But until that day comes, we do have the next best thing. And wait, hang on. We do have the next best thing. You thought that was going away after last week. Nope. No, that's here to stay for the time being. But hey, it works. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get going. There's a reason why every DJ on the East Coast uses that in every club. You're goddamn right there is. Now, with all that being said, let me go ahead and welcome each and every one of you to episode 17 of the DualShock Graveyard Podcast. This is the first full, legit, actual episode of 2021. Very exciting. And let me take this moment to thank you guys. To any of my past listeners, welcome back. To any new listeners listening to the show for the first time, let me welcome you with big, giant, warm, open arms to this show of mine. The DualShock Graveyard Podcast is a horror podcast. It's also a gaming podcast. We talk about spooky shenanigans, and we also talk about the latest and greatest going on in this glorious gaming industry of ours. There's a lot to talk about on both ends, so I don't want to waste too much time and get into some spooky shenanigans because we actually have something very, very creepy and disturbing to talk about today. But just before I do, just a quick reminder that this podcast isn't just mine, it's also your podcast as well. And let me explain what that means. The current communication hubs of the DualShock Graveyard Podcast are my Twitter page and my Instagram page. My Instagram page is still It's it's under lockdown. I don't want to get too specific what's going on with my Instagram page. Nothing bad, nothing negative, just something self-induced on myself. But for the time being, I would say the next 30 days, my Instagram will be out of commission to me. But my Twitter page will, for the time being, be the only communication hub of the show where you guys can reach out and give your feedback, answer questions, participate in sweepstakes. That's right. Every once in a while, I will give out $10 in PSN credit. And to be eligible for all of that, well, not really eligible. Everybody's eligible. Just add me on Twitter. But my Twitter page is @ambient_Jules. That's @ambient_Jules. Just give me a follow. Throw me a line if you're so willing. I respond to everybody. I'm very accessible. Maybe a little too accessible given the context of what this podcast talks about, but that's what makes it a little more exciting, isn't it? I would like to think so anyway. But with all that nonsense and shenanigans out of the way, let's talk about something spooky and something creepy. On today's episode, we're going to talk about a man named Ricardo Lopez. No, not the soccer player. No, not the boxer. No, not the... I know for a fact there's a boxer and a soccer player named Ricardo Lopez. I would imagine that there's probably a couple more Ricardo Lopez's out there. Maybe a listener named Ricardo Lopez. Maybe definitely some mariachi trumpet players for sure named Ricardo Lopez. Shout outs to all of them. But no, this Ricardo Lopez is none of those. In fact, he is known for something a lot more egregious. Ricardo Lopez, or as he's more commonly known as, the Bjork Stalker. Now, before I go any further, a little public service announcement from one dirty-ass Mexican to his fellow Latinos out there listening. We need to just Can we just can I just pull you guys to the side and we could just have a little meeting right now, just very brief, very quick, and then we'll get back. We'll join the rest of the crew and talk about this together. Just to lay it out bluntly, we take a big giant L with the Bjork Stalker. We take a big massive L with this Ricardo Lopez because he's one of us. It is what it is. Let's just take this L with some grace. Let's take some inspiration from the Asian community who had to go through an L of their own when the Virginia Tech shooting happened. Remember that? Had to have been more than 10 years ago, but I remember the news started unfolding from the Virginia Tech shooting, and Jesus Christ, nobody anticipated this guy to be some Korean dude. So you can imagine the shock among the Asian community who had to just fucking go, God damn it. Holy shit, man. Human beings are hilarious. It's funny when a school shooting happens. It's, come on. It's usually some disgruntled white guy. And it's funny because white people are always like, they argue amongst themselves about, guns and shit. Meanwhile, every other minority group is just going, oh God, please don't let him be Mexican. Please don't let him be Mexican. And listen, that's the truth. That is the depressing, hilarious truth. And I don't mean hilarious as in it's funny. Like, it's not funny, but God damn it, dude. Leave it to somebody like me to find somewhat humor in such depressing irony. But anyway, as I was saying, Latinos, let's take this L gracefully and get on with our day. Shall we? Awesome. Órale. Vamos a hablar de este way. So I did quite a bit of my own research on this, but the majority of the information that I will be presenting comes from one YouTube video in particular, and I'd like to give credit to it. In fact, I recommend everyone go watch this YouTube video by a YouTuber by the name of Count Dankula. He has a extremely thorough analysis on this man, complete with a whole bunch of footage that I will be talking about momentarily. So if you would like a visual element to this tale, definitely go watch Count Dankula's video. It's about an hour and 13 minutes. It is a harrowing journey, that video is. Now, Ricardo Lopez was a man who immigrated to the United States from Uruguay at a very young age with his family, and at an early age, he took a very keen interest to art. More specifically, sculptures, drawings, things like that. He moved to Florida, where his brother was, to work alongside his brother. And he was able to get himself a nice little apartment where he lived, and on his free time was able to work on his craft, made various sculptures, drawings, paintings, what have you. He was also a bit of a recluse. He had no friends. He had no close friends. He had no relationships with anyone aside from his family, which eventually led him to create his own in his mind. Ricardo had a very vivid imagination, and he would daydream these fantasies he had about himself with celebrities. He had problems with obsession, which I think was probably his biggest vice, was obsession, which is quite obvious given his surname. His biggest obsession was with the Icelandic singer by the name of Bjork. Now, in the name of research, I went on Spotify and looked up some of her music, and not a fan. Nothing that particularly caught my interest. It would have been nice if I could come out of this and was like, oh, she's actually a pretty good singer. I'm glad I, because of unfortunate circumstances, I had to learn about her this way. But no, that didn't come to be. Her music actually wasn't wasn't my cup of tea. Regardless, though, she was very popular throughout the 90s and the early 2000s, and was the crown jewel obsession of one Ricardo Lopez. Now, whether out of either boredom, restlessness with being a recluse, one day Ricardo Lopez went out and got himself a video camera. And with this video camera, he made a video diary. Now, the entirety of these diaries spanned from January 1997, I believe it was 96, from January all the way to September of the year 1996. He kept this video diary, and in this span of 9 months, you see a complete decline in sanity happen in real time through these videos. In the beginning, it started off innocent enough. He would talk about, his day to day, his job. He would talk about his art. Bjork. He would talk about Bjork. He would play her music while he did his art in the background. In others, he would show off his apartment, which he left in a very poor and filthy state. That went on for a couple weeks until one fateful day in January, he discovered something that would lead him on a very disturbing state of mind and triggered a very long 9-month plan to do something very egregious. Among Ricardo Lopez's many flaws, he was also he was a racist. He was quite a bit of a racist. On January 14th, Ricardo Lopez found out that the love of his life, the sweet, beautiful, innocent, can do no wrong in his eyes, Bjork, started dating a well-known British DJ by the name of Goldie. And to the detriment of Ricardo Lopez, Goldie was a black guy. Listen, the air horn has to be used a minimum of 3 times per episode. I may as well use it in some pretty hilarious creative ways, so just bear with me, okay? Back to the story. Ricardo Lopez did not like that Goldie was dating a black guy and made his views known in his video diaries. He would talk about it, he would vent about it, very liberally used many racial epithets in those video diaries, and in his own words, planned to punish her. Listen, I never implied that this was going to be some sympathy case or anything, that you were going to feel bad about this guy. Let me make this clear. The Bjork Stalker was a lunatic. Don't blame me if this took a major turn in your eyes. God damn it. Back to the story. Ricardo Lopez was so bothered that Bjork was riding the Soul Train that he made a plan to send Bjork a bomb, a sulfuric acid bomb that would detonate upon opening, that would unleash sulfuric acid to her face, thus disfiguring her, and then afterwards putting a gun barrel in his mouth and killing himself. And throughout the next 9 months, you would see that plan unfold in real time through these video diaries. He would document himself talking about his plan, the reasons for doing so, constructing various prototypes, going on very disturbing rants, clearly losing his sanity in the process, until the day came for his plan to be executed. On September 12th, 1996, Ricardo Lopez took his package, drove over to the UPS store, and as calm and as inconspicuous as possible, went ahead and mailed the package to Bjork. When he came home from that trip, he turned the camera on and began preparations for the second part of his plan. Ricardo took a pair of scissors and cut his hair bald with a pair of scissors, which he did all on camera. He, again, going back to his artistic roots, he painted his head, painted his nipples pink, wrote a big giant letter on the walls to the authorities, played his favorite Bjork song with the plan of, upon the song ending, he would put a barrel of a gun in his mouth and pull the trigger. So the preparations were made. He finished his to-do list. He had just finished sending a package to Bjork, which contained a sulfuric acid bomb with the intent to disfigure her. He wrote his letter to the police on the walls, and the time had come. Now, what follows is going to be an excerpt of his final moments on this planet. I figured I may as well disturb you guys a little further by actually playing something from these tapes. The footage does contain the use of a racial epithet, so, just be forewarned about that. And we'll be cutting away right to the point where he does his thing. Please enjoy.
Okay, it's time. I've got my gun. I I just want to say that my last words are my last words. Well, fuck the world. That's my last words. And fuck Bjork and her nigger-loving self. Um, the chances of it being entirely successful, like I said before, I'm not gonna count on it. But nonetheless, it being out there, I consider it a great venture. Nonetheless, I was gonna die anyway, not because of her, but rather because of my own reasons.
Ricardo then spends the remainder of the video sitting idly by, waiting for the song to end, waiting for his moment. To me, one of the most disturbing parts of this moment isn't just, obviously what he does, but the song in particular that he chose, I'm not familiar with, but the ending of it definitely has like a very drawn out ending. Like you can imagine why he chose this one because the way it ends, it has like a very flowy, very angelic, slow ending, which is again quite haunting given the subject matter. And also, you see that he visibly starts getting nervous towards as it's starting to end. He starts breathing very deeply. In fact, the last minute or so, all he does is just take very long, deep breaths. And upon the ending of the song, he does exactly what he said he was going to do. On September 12th, 1996, Ricardo Lopez shot himself in his apartment after sending a sulfuric acid bomb to what he believed was Bjork. Now, mailing a package to a celebrity obviously is not as easy as just mailing a package to a celebrity. There is quite a few vetting processes that has to happen first, and that's exactly what happened with this package. And 4 days later, when Ricardo's body was recovered and the scope of everything that he did was revealed, British authorities were contacted by Florida authorities, and the package was found, and thankfully, nobody was hurt. When Bjork was informed of an attempted attack through mail on her life, she was obviously very horrified by it, distraught by it. And the reason I bring this up is because in the videos that he made, he did bring up that one thing that he wanted to do was somehow have an effect on Bjork's life. And though he did it in the most egregious way, he did succeed in the fact that Bjork definitely knew who this man was. And that, children, is the story of the Bjork Stalker. Once again, I recommend checking out that video that I referenced this segment from. The actual video is a full hour and 13 minutes of a lot of the footage, and Count Dankula himself, the man who uploaded it, gives his own commentary to it. It's very entertaining, tons of dark humor, because you can only be so funny given the subject matter. Definitely go check it out. And I'm really excited that I was able to talk about this particular story. It's one that's intrigued me for quite a while. It's clearly one of the most transparent examples of someone's deranged mental decline caught on camera, and just in the span of 9 months, you see it just happen in real time. And unfortunately, there have been similar cases again, that the trope of the deranged fan attempting to get close to the person they're obsessed with is not new. And unfortunately, there have been other examples of, these psychos succeeding in their plan. I mean, to me, the most obvious one is Dimebag Darrell, the guitar player for Pantera. He was murdered on stage while he was performing by a deranged fan of Pantera who was upset that, Pantera had broken up and he had started a new band. He just got on stage and just outright murdered him right in front of his own brother, Vinnie Paul. Very sad and very tragic. More recently, there was a I really don't want to butcher her name, but there's this YouTuber, um, this woman singer on YouTuber. She got famous on YouTuber, but I think she went on like America's Got Talent, something like that, one of those shows, and got herself quite a bit of fame and notoriety. Christina Grimmie, I hope is her name. I really don't want to butcher her name, but she was again at a meet and greet, I believe, and as she went on her way to embrace someone who give a hug to someone who she assumed was a fan, she had her arms extended, and this guy just pulls a gun out and just kills her, just point blank, cold blooded. There are sick and deranged people out there, and sick deranged people are some of what we talk about here on the DualShock Graveyard Podcast. Horror is a very expansive, for lack of a better word, genre, which encompasses things like what we've been talking about, the paranormal, horror movies, the movies that intrigue us, psychopathic, cold-blooded killers, both in real life and on screen. Being creeped out and disturbing is something that is very intriguing to me, and something that I enjoy talking about. And talking about it with other like-minded folk who get a kick out of these kinds of things. And who also get a kick out of playing video games too, which is another segment that we're going to get into pretty soon. But for now, we're going to stick a little, we're still going to talk about some horror. We still have some things to talk about here. In fact, I'd like to go ahead and switch on over to a segment I like to call What I've Been Watching and What I've Been Playing. Hopefully I don't have to, hopefully I don't have to explain what's going on here. So over the break, I finally, for the first time, watched John Carpenter's 1982 thriller, The Thing. And man, I fucking loved it, dude. It was so good. It instantly became one of my all-time favorite sci-fi horror movies. Easily. It's a film that not only has aged well, and I'm not just talking about the effects, because the film is very renowned for its practical effects, which is some of the best ever. Even in today's standards, like I said, it aged very well, and even today, the practical effects are just disturbing and out of this world. But the film in general still holds up absolutely well, and aside from being an instant favorite of mine, just as far as horror and sci-fi, it's also one of the best. Oh god, I hate that I'm gonna say it, but it's a great whodunit film. Whodunits is a word that people use. It's a genre of film, like mystery films. I guess people got tired of using the word mystery films and came up with a word, and I just despise that. Whodunit. It's a whodunit. But The Thing is also a really good mystery film as well, and I couldn't recommend it more, man. It stars Kurt Russell, dude, and it makes me want to go down a Kurt Russell rabbit hole, man, because I've been aware of Kurt Russell for a long time, but apparently this guy was a top tiered 80s action star. You know, you think Stallone and Schwarzenegger, but on The Thing alone, now I'm very interested in checking out other Kurt Russell classes like Escape from New York and among others. So definitely, again, The Thing. Go check out The Thing. It's fucking rad. I also checked out season 3 of Cobra Kai. Hell yeah, dude. It came out New Year's Day, and I was in a hotel room, and I had nothing to do, so I went ahead and checked that out, and I liked it. It wasn't my favorite season. I still think season 1 was the best season. Season 3, probably my second favorite, followed by season 2. One of my critiques. It's not really a critique, even. It's just it's obvious what they're doing here. Season 3 suffers with what I guess I would call season 3 syndrome, where it usually happens in series during their third season, maybe sometimes their fourth season, where the entire season is the entire purpose of it is to set up the next season. And that doesn't mean that it wasn't entertaining or there wasn't any interesting developments, but you can tell what they're trying to do, and basically, bottom line, this season was dedicated just to set up a amazing next season, which it did successfully and in a very entertaining way. So yeah, Cobra Kai is a series I absolutely recommend if you haven't watched it yet. It's just a fun series that's very well written, very entertaining, doesn't take itself too seriously, and just an overall good time. And this is coming from someone who's never seen the Karate Kid films at all, which is ironically not on Netflix. Cobra Kai being a Netflix series, you would think that they'd, accompany that series with, the entire Karate Kid saga, but nope, not there. Lastly, finally, after many months of going through Friends, I am on the 10th and final season. I started it last night, ready for whatever, especially after the cliffhanger that was the season 9 finale. And anticipating what is going to happen next is far more scary than any scary thing I could talk about during the horror segments of this show. Easily. And as far as what I've been playing just one game. I'm still playing Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. It's such a good game. I've technically I finished it. Technically, but it's one of those games where if you finish it without doing without doing something first, it just ends. Like, I technically got the bad ending because I finished it without doing a couple extra things. So I'm still allowed to just go back to my save file and just start it over basically, and just complete everything I need to do, which I like, man. I really like that this game allows me to just explore this vast map how I want to. The combat is very intriguing. I'm not following the story one bit, but that's completely okay because the gameplay easily more than makes up for it. If you've ever been interested in the Castlevania series or love the Castlevania series and for some goofy reason have slept on Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, Jesus Christ. Fix that immediately and play Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. It's available everywhere, every single platform. In fact, I think it's actually on mobile. Through the magic of podcast editing, let me check. And wouldn't you know it, dude? It's actually on mobile. As I was saying it out loud, I was thinking to myself, "There's no way. It can't be." But I'm looking at it right now. $10. But do yourself a favor, just get it on PC or PS4. It's or the Switch. Get it wherever you would. Just get your hands. There is no preferred method. Just play Bloodstained Ritual of the Night if you haven't already. It's on mobile. So even those of you that don't play video games, even those of you that are here just for the horror stuff and aren't really into the gaming stuff, there's no excuse. It's a very beautifully crafted game. The art is amazing. The art style is Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Play it. Now is the time, my friends, where we transition over to the gaming side of the podcast. Now, this is the part of the show where I anticipate a number of people stop the show. And here's the thing. That is completely okay, and here's why. My dream audience would be folks who love horror and love gaming. If every single person listening to the show was in that'd be great. However, I'm no dummy. I know that's not how it is for everybody, and that's okay. There might be some people who are just interested in the horror stuff, and then when the gaming comes, like, gaming's not really my thing, they tune out. That is completely okay. And vice versa. If there's somebody who's only into... Actually, if there was somebody who was only into gaming, to be honest, they're probably listening to some other gaming podcast because we always start the show off with the horror hour first. But horror is extremely accessible and something I'm interested in. But I also love video games too, so I really wanted to just mesh the two worlds together and just, start a community and just bring every like-minded person who loves both together in one place. And if this is the part of the show where you're interested in, the horror shit and then want to tune out once the gaming stuff though, that is completely okay. I would certainly invite you to stick around, listen to the rest of even if it's stuff that's not of your particular interest, just, keep me in the background, just stick around. But if you decide not to, I completely understand. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me, and I'll catch you next week. For the rest of us though, let's talk about games. First off, let's start off with me fessing up to something that I did over the break that I said I wouldn't. Your boy has bought himself a Nintendo Switch. Yes. I always wanted one, but it got years into its life cycle where I actually held off on buying one based on the fear that if I bought one now, literally the same year, a next version of the Switch would come out, the Switch Pro, as it's rumored. And that would have upset me for sure. But here's what happened, right? I was in Target. I was at Target buying some pants. And I wandered over to the electronics section, as I always do. I was, from there, I'll just take a stroll, just check everything out. And lo and behold, for the first time since the pandemic started, I saw a Nintendo Switch out in the wild, just there, right underneath the display where it's always at. And I couldn't help myself. I got it. I I bought the Switch and a pair of pants, 2 pairs of pants actually. And I went home extremely giddy, excited to break this bitch in. Now, because it's something that I said I wouldn't do, now comes the part where I have to justify it, right? I have to explain myself. And here's how I justified it in my head. Nintendo games? Mario games? They don't need to be in 4K. I don't need stunning 4K surround sound audio shenanigans in my Mario games. I'm okay with, they're very casual, fun, family-friendly games, and I'm more than happy with just, them being 1080p on my TV, especially when it's a Switch and I could just take them, portably. What the fuck do I need a 4K Nintendo console for? I don't. So if my fears do come true and a Switch Pro gets announced within the next couple months, I'll probably still be a little butthurt, but ultimately, I'm satisfied with my purchase, and it's all good. Also, I am now actively in search for a PlayStation 5, which I know probably isn't a shocker to a lot of you, but I actually intended on holding out for quite a bit, at least until, they started getting a little more easier to find, which, as I'm recording this, still is not. But the truth is, my backlog is getting kind of bloated now, and it's getting kind of unbearable because, as an incentive to the podcast, I need to make sure that my gaming is not super up to date. I don't want to rush and play things that I don't want to play, but at the very least, I should be up to date with my, with everything coming out so I can talk about it on the show. I still have not played Ghost of Tsushima yet because I've been waiting for the PlayStation 5 version because I want to play it in full 60 frames per second 4K that's provided on the PS5, unlike the inferior PS4 version. Destiny 2 came out with the PS5 patch for the first time in Destiny, 60 frames per second on a console, dude. That's bananas. I love Destiny. I really, really love Destiny, and I really like just looking at YouTube footage of it running on a PS5. I just had to have it. Immortals Phoenix Rising, that's a game that I've been that's again available on the PS4, but why would I play it on a PS4 when the PS5 version is extensively superior? Just full buttery smooth 60 frames 4K. I'm not playing that. There's no way I'm playing the PS4 version of Immortals. Cyberpunk. Again, I'm not going to get into Cyberpunk and the whole, I went through that a couple episodes ago already, but I knew many, many months leading up to it that I was not going to play this game on the PS4 because of exactly what happened. It was going to be a gimped, horrific version, and the PS5 version still isn't released yet, but I would certainly love to have a PS5 by the time that comes out. So yeah, I am now actively searching for a PS5. So I have a daily routine of there's a website that continuously updates with supply drops wherever they go, whether Best Buy, Walmart, Target, and so far I've been unsuccessful in procuring one, but hopefully that will change very soon. Other than that, though, there would have really been nothing to talk about as far as the gaming front because there was just no news. It's still early in the year. Slow news time of year for sure. Definitely around Christmas. But yesterday, Tuesday, January 12th, 2021, a lot of things happened out of nowhere and was a pretty exciting day. First thing, going back to, Nintendo games, the fact that I do have a Switch, one of the games that I have been anticipating is Super Mario 3D World Switch port, which, again, I'm not excited for paying $60 for a game I already played on the Wii U. I still haven't bought Mario Kart 8 yet on the Switch, and that's been out for years and still no price drop. So, and I'm most likely going to be buying that pretty soon too. So believe me, these Switch ports full priced. Not a fan. Not a fan, Nintendo. But what are you gonna do? I'm still gonna buy it. So I acknowledge the problem and I contribute to the problem. So whatever. I have no room to complain, I guess. But no, Super Mario 3D World is a game I'm very excited for. Not just because it's top two favorite Nintendo games on the Wii U. At least it's not just gonna be just this port by itself. It is releasing with another, I don't know if I should say another game or just an expansion to the original game. But it goes by the name Bowser's Fury. And just yesterday they released a deep dive trailer of what this is, and holy shit. So it does look more like an expansion to 3D World. It's like its own separate thing. And it's basically a completely open map set in the 3D World engine. And it's like a tropical themed expansion, but that's not even why I'm excited. What excited me the most was Bowser's design. Now, obviously, Bowser, you can't have a Mario game without Bowser. That's how it always goes. But this particular Bowser design, holy fuck. This is the most terrifying. And of course, I'm not actually terrified. It's a goddamn children's game, but this is the most terrified, quote unquote, that I've been of a Bowser design since I was a kid playing Yoshi's Island. And you know Yoshi's Island final boss, it's Bowser, but it's like this giant Bowser, and he's like from a distance, and he's like slowly coming towards the screen in a very menacing way. That used to scare me as a kid. That final boss from Yoshi's Island used to scare me as a kid. And this is as close as you're ever going to get to making me feel that way with a modern Nintendo game. And god damn it, dude, this Bowser design, so good. He's massive. They changed his color scheme where he's like just dark and he has like red hair. His head is flaming, I guess. And it's just magnificent, man. That is just amazing. Amazing design. You should go see it. I put it on my Twitter page. Again, the at ambient_Jules. Currently the only communication hub of the show. Give it a look-see, man. It's really cool. Also, in other big news, really big news, EA, developer, publisher, EA is no longer the sole publisher of Star Wars games. Period. Turns out Disney has taken back the Star Wars IP and started their own publishing brand called Lucasfilm Games. Missed opportunity, man. This was their opportunity to actually bring back LucasArts, which would have been amazing. But no, they started their own publishing firm for Star Wars games and George Lucas properties in general, called LucasArts Games. And not just that, but they've already announced a couple of projects, which is extremely exciting. And from a variety of developers too. This is what many fans wanted. They didn't want EA just being the sole publisher. They wanted to give other developers the chance. You know, before then, it's just been EA and their first-party developers, such as DICE with the Battlefront games and Respawn with the Jedi Fallen Order. But now other developers from other third-party studios can now take a crack at the Star Wars IP, which is very exciting. And right off the bat, they went ahead and announced that they're doing just that. Ubisoft's Massive Entertainment, the developers behind The Division, announced that they are developing a open-world, story-driven Star Wars game. Obviously, very early development. We just got the announcement, and that's it. But that's very exciting. And not only that, Machine Games, the developer behind the Wolfenstein franchise, owned by Bethesda, have announced that they're creating a original from the ground up Indiana Jones game. That caught me completely off guard. Now again, being that it's being produced by Bethesda, developed by Machine Games, Many people are anticipating that this is going to be an Xbox exclusive, being that Bethesda has been purchased by Microsoft. One of the biggest gaming news stories of last year, easily. Which is weird that we don't know, because you would think something this big, like they should. Why don't we know if this is an Xbox exclusive? I feel like that's something that they should have announced straight up. Like, we'd like to announce an official Indiana Jones game, uh, developed by Machine Games, one of our studios, and will be coming exclusive to uh, Xbox. I don't even know. It's so confusing now, because now it's such an open ecosystem. You can't just say Xbox exclusive, because that's not true. Every single Xbox exclusive is also coming on PC. So I don't know, man. This whole thing is confusing, but at the very least, there's that. At least there is an Indiana Jones game in development that you can look forward to. It's exciting, licensed games are getting their due diligence now. Just recently, IO, the developers behind the Hitman series, announced their James Bond game. So, goddamn, dude, licensed games, a variety of licensed games are making their ways to the game space, which is very exciting indeed. Take a shot every time Julian says exciting. Also, the Indiana Jones game does have a trailer. It's a little announcement trailer, but fun to check out nonetheless. So if that's something you haven't seen yet and you do like Indiana Jones, definitely check that out. And the last bit of news that I want to wrap the show up with this week is Resident Evil 4. One of my favorite games of all time, without question. Resident Evil 4 celebrates its 16th anniversary this week. So let's all raise our glasses to the real one. Resident Evil 4, easily one of the greatest games of all time. Definitely one of my favorite games of all time. And rather than just say that, let's also take a moment to touch on some of the rumors about the possible, I believe it to be true, but possible forthcoming Resident Evil 4 remake. Earlier this year, for some goofy reason, I didn't talk about Capcom getting their shit leaked. A lot of information from Capcom's inner servers got leaked, and including that was the fact that Resident Evil 4 was in fact in development, the remake, and among many other trinkets of information, also the fact that it's the last possible remake, at least mainline remake, that they can make. Resident Evil 4 came out during the PS2, GameCube generation. Those games get remade, but you're not going to remake Resident Evil 5 because it still looks good. It came out the generation after, and the version on the PS4 and PC to this day still looks incredibly impressive graphically. There's no need to remake that, but Resident Evil 4 seems like one that can be remade. And also, a couple months back, the actor for Leon Kennedy, the main character, who also did the performance for Leon Kennedy for the Resident Evil 2 remake, he tweeted a picture of himself back in the mocap suit with the caption "Back to Work," which a lot of people assume that that's him working on the Resident Evil 4 remake, which is exciting, but also at the same time a little concerning. And here's why. For those that are familiar, let's be honest. Resident Evil 2 Leon and Resident Evil 4 Leon are two completely different Leons. On one hand, on the Resident Evil 2 Leon, when he was introduced to the series, he was a lot more typical Americanized, just an all-around American guy. As basic as the explanation as that is, it is. Resident Evil 4 Leon, on the other hand, let's be honest, they completely animate his ass. He did. Listen, Resident Evil 2, he was a lot more tempered. He was a lot more real as far as like how a person would react during a zombie apocalypse. Resident Evil 4 is when they threw all that out the window and just they made him Japanese. Basically, they turned him into a Japanese anime character. Now he's like smooth, he's cool, his voice is a lot lower. He's belly to belly suplexing zombies. I mean, come on, dude. And in the Resident Evil 2 remake, they stuck to his roots in that way, but being that it's not Matthew Mercer coming back to Julian, and they're using the same. I'm also not. I'm pretty sure that the actor by the name of Nick. I'm gonna butcher this. Nick Apostolids. He's clearly doing the mocap, but I'm not certain if he did the voice acting, because I know for a fact it wasn't Matthew Mercer that did the voice for the Resident Evil 2 remake. So my concern is, since I want the remake to stay true to the game, I'm worried that because they are using RE2's remakes as the mocap suit and possibly the voice actor, that they're just gonna kind of not make it anime Leon, dude. And for Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 2, you can use the same Leon, but Resident Evil 4 Leon has to be anime Leon. And I really hope that it is anime Leon, because that would be that'd be sick. It has to be. It has to be. But we'll see many years from now. Obviously, it's nowhere near close to I mean, it's hasn't even been announced yet, so clearly years from anything being announced, but that's my hopes anyway. And once again, Resident Evil 4, happy 16th anniversary. Way to be. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, this is where I shall leave you. Thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time out of your day to listen to the entire episode, to make it this far. It shows me that you care. Even if you had it in the background, that's fine too. If you just played it in the background and forgot about it, you want to listen to the sound of my voice while you dildo yourself, that's okay too. As long as you're here, that's all that matters to me. Thanks to each and every one of you. I'll catch you next week. Again, Twitter is the temporary only communication hub of the DualShock Graveyard Podcast. Catch me at ambient_Jules. Send me a DM. Send me whatever. I talk to everybody about anything. And I'll catch you guys next week. Thanks again. Take care. Peace. And remember, DualShock is a product of Sony.